So humans have been using sequences to calculate quantities that were challenging. All right, and 4,000, 5,000 years ago, it was the square root. Well, mathematicians started dealing with different complicated functions that are also difficult to calculate. And here's a sequence that some mathematician called Taylor came up with. I'd explain this to you, but it's going to go over your head. So we don't have to worry about that. Just trust me. Okay, and remember we had that formula, e to the ix equals I sine theta cosine theta. This is what that famous mathematician figured out. He figured out if he put ix here and put it into the sequence that you see, he wound up with these two sequences above added with the I multiplied to the sine. That's how he came up with it. Because this is how they had to calculate these quantities. You can't really, how do you guess and check the cosine of 10 degrees? How do you do that? What about the cosine of 8 degrees? Right? How do you raise e to the third power? E is a very special number. It's like pi. How do you do that? This is what they did. All right, so if we wanted to do e to the first power, notice that we have these factorials involved in the process. And this is why we came up with the factorial syndrome, because we had mathematics that were causing this pattern of multiplication. So if we find out that we're doing 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, we don't want to have to write all that. That's annoying. So we imply it by using this factorial syndrome instead of having to write all that. And this showed up so many times in mathematics that the utility of creating an exclamation point symbol was very helpful. Okay? And this is how your calculator is doing this. When you push the button on your calculator to find e to the first power, it is doing this until the last two answers match the decimals. That's what it's doing. This is how that's programmed. Okay, so notice if you did this formula, so we got 1 and then 1 over 1, 1 over 2 factorial, 1 over 3 factorial, which is 3 times 2, 1 over 4 times factorial, which is 4 times 6, 1 over 5 factorial, which is 5 times 24, 1 over 6 factorial, which is 6 times 120. We can get 3 sig figs of accuracy only by going up to 6 factorial. And we could continue on if we wanted. All right, so humans have used sequences in the past for a lot of varieties of reasons to represent quantities that are just really too mathematically challenging to actually calculate.